Welcome, good evening, everyone, or hello, good morning, wherever you are, and welcome to the Confidence to Thrive. So if you've been on any of my other sessions, you may see some of the topics returning. They may be phrased slightly differently, but I am all about mindset. I'm all about where you focus your mind. Can I ask you all to stay on mute for recording the session, or I will mute you, or I'll mute you all. And for now, I'll leave you on mute. And then at the end, towards the Q&A, I will ask you to unmute if you want to share something or get into the discussion. So I already said that. Welcome to the Confidence to Thrive. My name is Rosemary Wilson. For those of you who have not met me before, I am an Internations Consul. I am the Consul of London, Londoners of All Nations, and the London Inspired Women's Group. I've been with Internations for, I think, about 5-6 years. And so I have my own company. I run a coaching and training company. My background is actually in finance and fintech, implementing large-scale financial systems. And now I have quite an interesting role. I have my own company, so I can do what I like, which is great. But I mainly work one-to-one with women to help them nurture their talent and thrive in what they do or take the next step. So there's lots of things around that, meaning I help them build confidence, get over imposter syndrome, and develop emotional intelligence. And usually it's for a specific goal. And I also work with organizations who are committed to investing in and nurturing their staff, their talent. And that is whilst supporting a culture of diversity and inclusion, which is obviously important to me. So my role takes me in lots of different spaces, which I quite enjoy. I like the variety. So I am a speaker, I am a coach, I mentor. I'm currently mentoring a student at Warwick University, and I also facilitate workshops. So quite a varied background. If you're interested and want to connect with me, you can use the QR code there, and that takes you to LinkedIn. If you're on Instagram or Twitter, if you use @Pragmatica Coach, it will bring me up. So one of them is Pragmatica Coaching, which I think is Instagram, and the other one is Pragmatica Coach. But either way, if you look up Pragmatica, you will find me. So that's just a little bit about me. Yeah, no more finance, although finance helps in my business, but I am now a people nurturer. That's what I like to call myself. So today I'm going to cover belief cycles. How do your belief cycles help or hinder you? I'm going to be heading you towards choice and action, because if you say you're not confident, it's up to you. That's a choice you make. I don't believe it to be a fact, or it's a choice. So we're going to talk about choice and action, what choice you have and what action you can take. I'm going to be asking you some self-reflection questions, meaning I'm going to ask you questions because I want you to develop your confidence if that's what you want. And that the responses to those questions will help you decide where you sit in the great scheme of things when it comes to confidence, and it will help you to decide what to do. So it will help you identify practical tools for yourself, or the best tools for yourself, and what action you can take to help develop your confidence. And then we'll go into Q&A. You get the chance to ask me anything, and then we'll finish up around about 7 o'clock. So it's your session. If you were more confident, where would you go with it? So where would you like to get to with your self-confidence? Is there a particular goal you have in life? Is there something that you know you would want to do? And make it very specific. Don't say, I want to conquer the world, because the world's kind of big. So make it quite specific. So where would you like to get to with your confidence? What would it mean to you if you were more confident? Something tangible, something that you will know that you're feeling more confident. So that's the question for you. Tell me. If you don't know yet, that's fine. Share something with me in the chat box would be wonderful. Where would you like to get to if you were more confident? What would you be doing, or what would you be saying? What would you look like? Those sorts of things. Cool. Let's see what you've said. Change career. Okay, do you know what you would change career to? That's a good question. So someone said change careers, and I'm asking, what would you do differently? What would your career look like? Don't have to answer that if you don't want to, but would love to hear that, or perhaps you can tell me at the end. Let me move that around. Okay, so you want to get into real estate. Right, super. So let's see if we can get you there. Let's see if we can get you to the mindset of changing your career, which leads us wonderfully to this quote. Confidence is not the absence of fear, but instead feeling the fear and finding your way forward. Now, I don't know if you've heard of the book by Susan Jeffers, Feel the Fear, Do It Anyway. That's literally it. Because most people have some kind of fear lurking in the background. It could be a huge fear, it could be something small, but usually that fear stops you from doing what it is that you want to do. So it's about finding your way, feeling your way forward, feeling your way forward through the pain. And mind fears are often the most powerful fears that you can have. So find a way to feel your way forward. What can you do differently? And this will help you. So belief cycles, I'm going to share with you belief cycles. And I think the best way for me to share this is to share a story with you. So when I think I was in the middle of, I wasn't quite sure what I was doing. I wanted to change careers. And I was looking for a new job. Actually, I'd gone traveling. That was it. I'd gone traveling. I came back and I was applying for roles, and one of them was with one of the big four consultancy firms. And I went into the interview, very knowledgeable and experienced at my background, had a wonderful career. And this happened to me. So I'm going to share what belief cycles looks like. So I had an experience, and my experience was I had an interview. But to me, I had the most terrible interview. I don't know what happened. I was quite nervous. I didn't feel comfortable. I couldn't articulate myself correctly. And it just it just didn't feel right. It was all wrong. And I created this memory. So I left the interview, didn't get the job. Well, I found out afterwards, but didn't get the job, quite rightly so. I performed badly. She said I had great experience and a wonderful, but I didn't come across quite well. So I committed this to my memory, this bad experience. And then I had this belief after that I was bad at interviews. I'd never been bad at interviews previously, but on this occasion, I felt that I was not performing well in interviews. And I literally took that belief and I went on to have other interviews, but I just didn't feel comfortable in interviews. It was literally, I had an interview meltdown. So there I had this evidence that I couldn't perform in interviews. That was my belief. So I made that decision that I was not good at interviews right in that moment in time. So this is what happened. I continued, and then my behavior reflected that. So I'd literally go to interviews and I performed badly. And that was because of that one experience I had. I'd never had a bad interview before, and it hit me. And then for quite some time after that, I just felt like I wasn't good at interviews. So that's just an example to talk about belief cycles. So how does that work with you? Usually in childhood, we'll have an experience, or in our younger years, our more formative years, when we're just figuring out where we are in life, we will have an experience, we will commit it to memory, and then we'll create a belief system, a pattern of beliefs around that, what's happened. And then you start looking for the evidence to confirm that this is true. And this aids in making you or helping you to make decisions, and that informs your behavior. So you see that pattern of events, and this is what we do in life. So saying I'm not very confident is one of those things. At some point in your life, or you've had some form of experience that has stopped you feeling that you are confident, or feeling that you're not great, or you're not wonderful, or you're not enough, all of the above type things. And that will have stopped you from really believing in yourself. And instead of talking to yourself and saying, you're great, you can do this, you can work out how to, you just stick on this belief that you're not very good at, or you're not very confident. And that's what belief cycles are. And you can look at these, if you start looking at different patterns in your life, You know, a belief cycle is, you know, the sun is going to shine, the sun is going to rise tomorrow. And unless you live in a place where the sun doesn't shine, it's going to be true. That's part of a pattern of belief. I believe the sun is going to rise tomorrow. You know this because you've seen it before. It's a fact and it's an experience that you've had. So that's just an off-key example of, you know, the sun's going to shine. But that is a type of belief cycles. I probably confused you now. But belief cycles just weave their way through our lives, and confidence is one of them. And the biggest thing about self-belief, belief cycles, is it either creates or denies your power. You could have two people with exactly the same background in terms of their career or their lifestyle, emotions. You could have two people exactly the same in background, and one of them will have a belief that they're really strong, they're empowering beliefs and they're helpful beliefs. And the other one, because of their belief system, they will not believe that they are strong enough, that they're not good enough, that they're not confident. Two people exactly the same. The only difference between the two of them is that one believes in their power or believes in their strength or believes in their abilities, and the other one doesn't. And what strives through that is your thought patterns, which lead you to your self-talk. Now, self-talk is the biggest thing that stops you from really, well, being confident and empowering yourself. You know, the things that you say in your head: I can't do this, I'm not good at this, I don't know how to, I'm rubbish at, you know, these types of things. And when you keep saying that to yourself, that's what happens. You just say exactly with that, the belief pattern that I'm not very good at. And that's what happens. That's what you see. You see the evidence that I'm not good at, because you're taking that action. Instead of trying to motivate or improve or evolve or change, you stick at the I'm not good at, I'm not confident. And motivation is also quite helpful when it comes to confidence, because if you're motivated to do something, I find that many people, when their motivation is enough, even if they're not confident, they will find a way how to do something. The how-to motivation. You know, you start off with, well, I've never done that before. I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to ask some people and check. And then you find your way because you're motivated enough to find answers rather than excuses. And they decide, the motivation factors and the self-talk, they help you decide. They're a deciding factor in the action you take or the action you don't take. So it's up to you whether you want to work towards taking that action or not. Oh, my slides are not going forward. So there's the self-talk. You know, if you were to observe yourself for the day, what does your self-talk about you? What are the types of things that you say to yourself? What does your self-talk say about you? Does anyone have an idea? Are you someone who is kind to yourself? Do you tell yourself you can do this? Do you say, oh, I don't know how to do it at the moment, but I'm going to ask someone, I'm going to figure this out? So what does your self-talk say about you? Be mindful of the way you speak to yourself. I always say this: would you speak to someone else the way you speak to yourself? And quite often the answer is a big fat no. So be mindful of the way you speak to yourself. And nobody's listening because you're speaking to yourself, right? So even if it sounds a little bit egotistical, you sound a little bit like, who does she think she is? That's okay, because you're not acting out. You're not going out in the world saying, look at me, I'm so amazing, which if you want to do that, that's also fine. But be kind to yourself. Be mindful of the way you speak to yourself. Don't speak to yourself in an unhelpful way. Think about speaking to yourself as if you're speaking to a best friend and you're encouraging yourself. So these are some of the phrases that I come across all the time. So when I'm working with my clients, they may not say out loud, I'm scared. Well, so, yeah, quite often, I'm scared. There's a lot of procrastination, especially when you don't feel confident. A lot of people don't know what to do. And it amazes me how many people think they expect change to just happen. They expect that one day they're going to wake up and suddenly be more confident without doing anything to do that. That always amazes me. I won't go through all of these, but these are just a few of the phrases that I put together that I know when I'm working with my clients, these are the types of things they say, and they just don't know what to do. They don't know where to be. And quite often people come to me when they're A, fearful, and B, when they don't know where to start. They want to do something or be something different, and they just don't know where to begin. So these are just a few of the phrases that you might be saying to yourself if you're not particularly confident. And the thing with that kind of language is it causes that domino effect. So once you start thinking it and acting it, it just all follows. You can't, it's hard to unravel it if you say these things to yourself, these things that aren't particularly helpful. So literally like a row of dominoes, it just falls down. And that's the thing that you're doing all day. You're not trying to pick up the dominoes and be helpful to yourself. You're just being fearful. And fear is a great ingredient for this domino effect. You fear that you're not good enough. Other people are more confident than you. You say, oh, great things happen to other people. Greatness happens to other people. Oh, look at what she's done, or look at what he's done. That's amazing. Oh, I wish I could do that. That kind of language. And we tend to undervalue ourselves because we're comparing ourselves to other people. I call it comparing to impair. So don't undervalue yourself. You're just as good as the next person, but you've just got to make sure you use that encouraging language with yourself to tell yourself that I can get there, I can do this, I can learn, I can take action. These are types of self-talk that's really helpful. So that's just a little bit of background about what might be going on in your head, and some of that might resonate with you, some might not. But what practical action steps can you take? Now, a lot of this is, well, it's not theory. You have to put it into action. I can share it with you, but if you don't work out a way to do it for yourself, then nothing's going to change. So first thing I always want to say is get out of your own way. You may not think you're blocking yourself, but you are if you're saying to yourself, I'm not very confident, or there's something that you want to do and you're somehow not finding a way to do it. And it doesn't have to happen immediately. It took me years before I found the courage to leave my safe, structured corporate world, before I left it behind. But it took me, I don't know, 13, 14 years. I had it in the back of my mind. I was thinking about it, but it was never the right time. But I was blocking myself because I was fearful. What did this mean? I'm no longer going to be in this career that I had studied for, that I'd worked for, that I'd built up my career to managing positions. Why would I want to give that up? Was the kind of the discussion my head was having. I could hear my parents saying, what are you doing? You're losing your wonderful job working for these oil companies and these corporate banks and stuff. What are you doing? You're walking away from all that money. I could hear the voice of my parents. So think about the way you're blocking yourself. So Lulu, who wants to go to her estate agent career, how are you blocking yourself? Are you blocking yourself? Are you taking slow steps towards what you want, which is also fine. It doesn't have to be a rush. Like I said, it took me 13, 14 years before I had the courage to move. And in fact, I had been thinking about it for so long. A situation forced me to decide that I didn't want to be in that world anymore. So sometimes you have to wait until it is the right time. But as long as you're taking steps towards what you want, that's wonderful. And don't wait until you're confident to take action. I believe that action comes from confidence. And the reason I believe that is because I'm living it right now. Every single day, there is something in my inbox or some kind of request. I get asked to do something that I have no idea how to do it, none. And I'm like, and sometimes the first thing I go, I have to say no because I don't know how to do this. Sometimes that's the first thought that comes to me. But because I live this, I breathe this, confidence comes from action. So I take some form of action, even if it's just to go and do a bit of research on the topic or something like that. So I usually say yes. I usually say yes to everything. If it excites me, if it's not something I'm interested in, then I'll say no. So think about the things that excite you. What are you saying no to at the moment? What are you fearful of? You know, I know that Ali here is going to be writing a book. And, you know, she said, I'm trying to, I don't know if trying means I am doing it. You know, is there something blocking you? Is there something getting in your way? So I always say yes to things. If they excite you, if they instill some kind of passion in you, if you're motivated by the idea of doing the thing, then say yes and figure out how to do it later. If you don't know how to do it to begin with, just figure it out or ask someone else. Put a shout out in your network. Has anyone ever done X? Or can anyone give me pointers to Y? So work out the how later. And all the thinking, the overthinking, the analyzing, it means you're not doing, and you'll find reasons not to, or not to do something. So that thinking means you're not doing. So find a way to think about it if you have to, a little bit, but then take some action. Leave the self-doubt for others. Find your way to figure it out. As I said, even if it's asking people. Sorry, I just got to switch my phone off. Find your way to find the things that that you want to do, so that you're not blocked by yourself. And here's some really good language. You've probably seen this before if you've heard one of my sessions. I'm a big fan of reframing, rephrasing, whatever you want to call it. So instead of this kind of left side, which is unhelpful if it's taking you away from something you want to do, use what's on the right. Instead of saying, I can't, I'm not very confident, I don't know how to yet. So that literally shifts your pattern, your mindset. You're giving your mindset hope to do something in the future. Don't know how to yet leaves space for choice. I could never. Well, think about all the new things you've learned in your life. Think about the things that you've done that you thought you would never, ever be able to figure out. So I've learned new things before. I've done it before, so why can't I do this? And this pattern of language and being kinder to yourself, I realize I didn't change my name. It says Talking Intonations Host. This pattern of, saying to yourself, thank you, Jing Lee, for Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. That was the book title, Susan Jeffers. So I think I said it incorrectly. I've got the book behind me as well. So think about the language you use and how can you change it. So I asked you to listen to yourself talk. When you listen to yourself talk, when it's not particularly helpful, think about how you can change that language. What can you do differently? And use that to your advantage. I hear people saying I'm useless, and people just say just off the cuff, as in it's the most natural thing in the world. I'm useless. How can you say you're useless? That's not a very nice thing to do, is it? But people do that, which I find very strange, that people speak to themselves like that. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but take a screenshot and just, when I say listen to yourself talk, just identify how many times your language tells you you're not very good at things. Identify that and then think about how you can rephrase or reframe that to something else that's much more encouraging and helpful. So there we go. So labels is the other one. People seem to take, I don't know, they wear labels like a badge of honor. I'm not confident, I'm not good at, I'm not creative, I'm useless, I'm clumsy. These are labels. And when you pick a label and you stick to a label, it stays with you. If you keep saying that, it's part of the self-talk brigade. If you keep saying that, that's what you're going to act out. You're going to say, I'm not good at, I'm not creative, I'm never going to learn, I'm rubbish at classic English language. Think about the labels that you put on yourself, and they stick. If you keep saying them. And perhaps sometimes labels are put on us in childhood as well, or other people put labels on us, and we allow them to stick. We take them, we let them stay with us, and we start acting them out, and they become a self-fulfilling prophecy. That means self-fulfilling prophecy means that you act it out, and that's what you get. So if you say I'm clumsy, you're constantly going to be dropping things or tripping over things. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because that's the label you've placed on yourself. So think about the labels that you place on yourself. And this is a label that you have placed on yourself or someone else has placed on you that is holding you back because it's not giving you the opportunity to see what you're truly capable of, because you're telling yourself, I am this label, whatever your label is that you're placing on yourself. So what label have you placed on yourself that's holding you back? Is there something that you say to yourself all the time? You know, I'm not creative, I'm not clever, I'm not good at maths, my finances are bad. These are all labels. Is there a label that you place on yourself that holds you back because you're sticking to it? You believe it to be true, so you're acting it out. Anyone recognize this label scenario? Yeah. So what's the, well, you can tell me, but what's the label you place on yourself? And if you don't want to share, that's fine. But think about the label you place on yourself and think about, in fact, don't think about, take some form of action after you leave this session or tomorrow. What can you do to start cutting that label off, severing the ties with the label? What can you do differently to no longer take ownership of this label? Quite powerful. I'd love to hear what you decide. And boundaries are a huge part of confidence. You know, you say no. So many people say yes to things that they can't think of anything worse in doing. So say no when you need to or want to. It will feel strange to begin with. It will feel very odd, but say no when you need to or want to, and release any fear of missing out. That's what FOMO is, fear of missing out, just in case anyone doesn't know that phrase. Say no when you want to or need to, and stop being a people pleaser. Create agreements. So if you've agreed to do something with someone, if they keep asking you to do more, just say, I've set, this is what I'm doing, this is what we're agreeing to, and I don't have time to do more. So create agreements with friends and families in your workplace as well. And when you set these agreements, when you create these agreements, it actually set expectations. So people know where they stand with you. So they won't ask you for any more, especially if you do it with that serious face on. So create your agreements and set expectations with people so that they don't keep asking you for more. And you'll be amazed how confident you feel once you get over the hurdle of not being you know, a people pleaser anymore, because sometimes it feels uncomfortable to begin with because you've been doing it for so long. Change is sometimes uncomfortable, but once you get there, you'd be amazed at how much more confident you feel, because you feel more in control of your space and your life, your friends, your family, and they will in fact respect you. They might dislike you for a little bit, that's fine, but they'll come round and they'll ask you, how did you do it? And then you can tell them all about me and me telling you to set your boundaries. Confidence and your imagination. When it comes to our imagination, we worry about things. We're fearful of things. We're worried about the control. We're not being in control and the outcome that might happen. That usually is the worst outcome. We catastrophize things. We think it's the worst case scenario. So when you use your imagination, rather than worrying about what might not happen or how bad it's going to be, and I'm so concerned about something, I'm afraid, rather than doing that, just for one day, imagine what it's like if what you really want comes to fruition. So imagine if you get your estate agency license, imagine what your world will look like, rather than worrying about how disastrous things might be, or I might not make any money, or that sort of worryville. Think about the things that it will bring you, the freedom of mind, the peace of mind, the jubilation that you're doing something that you want. So focus on those types of things, rather than focus on what you want, rather than what you don't want and what you're afraid of. Think about what excites you, what motivates you to make these changes, to be more confident. And what's beyond your comfort zone. If you were confident enough and brave enough, and you had to step out of that comfort zone that we all live in, what would it look like? You know, I'm already out of my comfort zone big time. I don't think I can go back to that duvet and be snuggled up under my blankets. I'm out of my comfort zone. It's long gone. And yeah, I basically live my life, my days every day petrified at something. I'm joking, but I mean, I'm being asked every day to do something that I have no idea what I'm doing. You know, I get requests from organizations that want me to facilitate something or run something that I've never done before with, you know, people around the globe at different time zones, or, you know, that's just a small example. But what's beyond your comfort zone? For me, it's absolute pleasure. It's learning something new. It's teaching, it's educating, it's guiding. Yeah, and I love to learn things new as well. I know a lot, but, you know, there's so much more to know. So I love what's beyond my comfort zone. So what's beyond your comfort zone? What does it look like if you step out of your fear zone? What does your world look like? You can tell me some stuff in the Q&A. I can go back to the slides as well if there's any slide that you want me to go back to. So I love this picture of a penny farthing. So most of you hopefully will have seen this bike before, penny farthing. I think it was in the 1900s. It was invented. I can't remember when, but you know, someone came up with this and said, oh, I'm gonna build this, and someone's gonna use it and cycle it. I don't really know much about penny farthings, but it's not enough to think about it. It's not enough to worry about it. It's not enough to be fearful about it, because that fear will stick with you. It must be followed by some form of action, something that you put into practice, that even if it's a small thing daily, that you build up that confidence muscle. To put that action in, don't wait to be more confident, take that action. So what do you want to change to help you thrive? So we're on the session, the confidence to thrive. So you've shared already what you want to be more confident with, but what does that mean to you? What does thriving look like to you? So what do you want to change? So for those who answered earlier, you want to change your career. So you said you want to change your career, but what specific step do you need to do to change that career? What do you need to do to make a difference in that career? And perhaps you can share that with us in the end, at the end. So I'm finishing off in a second. Confidence comes not from always being right, but from not fearing to be wrong. See, when we release the fear of worry about things, we can then take action, and we can feel and be more confident. So what will your first step be? So you've listened to me, you might have listened to me before. Are you taking action? What will your first step be for action, for change? If there's anything that I've said that stands out for you, that makes you think, right, I'm inspired, I'm going to do X, I'm going to do Y, even if it's do a bit of research, or you're going to read a book, maybe read the Susan Jeffers book. See if I can find it. No, I can't find it. So what will your first step be? Tell me. So here I am again with my contact details. I'm looking for the book, but oh yeah, there it is. Oh, and I'm still attached to my. No, Life is Huge. This is another one, Life is Huge, which is also a wonderful one. I've got, and she's the best-selling author of Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Don't know if you can see that. So get in touch, follow me, talk to me, email me, share with me. I usually do share a link so that you can book a session with me if you want to, 30-minute session, which is complimentary, and which you are welcome to. If there's something specific that you want to work on, it's free of charge, and I'm not going to try and sell you a package, but if you want to work with me, that's also an option. So I'm going to end the recording now.